Hello everyone, today I'll be teaching you how to play 4-Card Charlie. Now, you might be wondering, what is 4-Card Charlie? Well, assuming you saw the thumbnail and understood that what you saw here is a deck of cards, you'd be assuming it's a card game. And you'd be right, 4-Card Charlie is a card game. A very simple card game where the goal is to get the lowest score as possible, kind of like golf if you've ever played that one. I didn't even know that was a card game. I just looked up for some cards that were similar to 4-Card Charlie, where the goal is to get the lowest amount of cards as possible. And it's got a simple foundation of how you play, but with enough specific instances where you need to take certain things into account to the point where it becomes fairly nuanced and rather enjoyable. So, how you play is simple. The ideal player count here, I don't exactly have anyone else to play it with at the moment, so we've got some stand-ins for the moment, but is ideally played with like around 4 people, because if you have too little people, it's not as fun, but if you have too many people, then you might need a second deck, which is fine if you have a second deck. I just happen not to on the moment. And also, I would need to find a lot more other stand-ins. But it's best played with 4 people, so how you play is simple. You get your cards, and of course you got to make sure they're shuffled first, so and don't take any of the cards out. Keep every single one of them in, because certain cards have certain uses that you may not exactly know about, which it's okay. You've never played 4-Card Charlie. I know that for a fact. That's why you're watching this video, to learn how to play 4-Card Charlie. So, once you have all your cards shuffled like so, you're going to deal 4 to every person. Now, this card number can vary if you've played this game before. There are certain penalties which allow you to draw an extra card. So, once everyone has their 4 cards, it doesn't really matter exactly how you arrange them. You pick 2 to look at. Now it doesn't. Just gonna look at. You could look at these 2. You could look at these 2. You could look at the 2 on the ends and the 2 in the middle. I'm gonna do the middle 2, and this is actually a brilliant hand. I've got an 8 and a joker. Now, jokers are very good, and 8s are just all right. So, how a turn would go is, a basic turn in 4-Card Charlie is, you would draw a card, and looks like I've got a queen. Now, I can discard this queen, or I could keep this queen and swap it out with one of my other cards. So say that the queen isn't exactly a good card, but I want to swap this queen out with one of my other cards, just so I know that I have a queen here. And I swap out a 4. Now, a 4, that's not exactly a good card you want to lose. It's a low value. Right, I should probably explain the card values. But, basically, you can take from here, or if there's a really good card here, you can take from there. So, most of the card values are pretty simple, you know. The basic number values, they're worth that amount of points in your hand. And the goal is to get the lowest amount of cards possible. Now, if for example, someone was to play an 8, and I know I had an 8 here, if an 8 was to be put on the discard pile, and I know this is an 8, I could play that card, and it's gone. Now my hand is reduced to 3 cards, which, as you can imagine, is really good to win 4-Card Charlie. Now, I'm going to start explaining the card values, because there are certain cards which have special properties, which the cards you want to look for are faces, jokers, and let me see if I can find the other instances real quick. The certificate, and wow, there are, and aces. There we go. So, the special cards you want to look out for are aces, faces, jokers, and the certificate. Now, I'm going to go over all these in turn. So, the face cards, they all have a certain number. There are high value cards, but they all have certain abilities. So, we're going to go with the jacks. The jacks are worth 11 cards, but they have a special ability. See, the jacks, depending on which color they are, they can be played they can be played from your hand to the discard pile, like I just did with the 8s, with any number. For example, blackjacks, which are silver in this for some reason, blackjacks would go on any odd number. So if someone had played that 7 and I had a blackjack in my hand, I could play that blackjack on the 7, and that's okay. And as you can imagine, red jacks or gold jacks in this scenario go with even values. Now, queens are rather interesting. Queens are very good to have in your opening hand, because if you draw a decent card, you swap out the queens, who are worth 12, by the way, and you play the queen, you get to look at one of your other cards. So let's say I played a queen, and I don't know what this card is, so I can peek a look at it, and it's a 2. Wow, that's really good. I'll be sure not to accidentally throw that away in the future. And now, kings here have very interesting abilities. So, kings here, black king is worth 13, and he doesn't really do much. But the golden king is worth 0, so you really want to hold on to these for as long as you can. Now, aces are interesting because they're worth 1 point. But if you play an ace, if you take an ace either from the draw pile or your hand and you put it into the discard pile, you get to take another turn. So you would draw from here again, and let's say I have a queen, which I'm just going to put that back and look at one of the cards I already have, which is the 2. Now, jokers are worth negative points. They're worth -2. So you want these. But if by some chance I didn't know this was a joker, and I got this really nice card, this 3, and I thought, well, I don't know what this card is, so I might as well swap it out for the 3 so I at least know what it is. I swap it out and I get a joker. That's bad, right? But now, by playing a joker, jokers have special effects when played in the discard pile. It makes it everyone's problem. So every player switches hands to the player with their left. So say, oh, great, I just got this really good hand and I accidentally played the joker. Now I got to swap hands with this guy and he has my hand, and now I have this guy's hand, and now that guy has his hands, and so on and so forth. And the certificate is by far the most interesting cards. Like, it doesn't have to, like, the certificate, the rules card, there's always one extra card that, like, nobody ever plays with. But in 4-card Charlie, these have a very important use. In 4-card Charlie, if you have the certificate in your hand, it's worth 20 points, which is very bad. But if you call 4-card Charlie, which is basically how the game ends, it's what you want to do if you think you have the lowest value of points, it suddenly becomes -5, which makes it roughly the best card you could possibly have. So, but if you have this card and someone else calls 4-card Charlie, you want to get rid of this card ASAP. So, now that I've gotten through that, that's a nice way to segue into how to explain what happens when someone calls 4-card Charlie. Okay, so for all intents and purposes, let's say I have this hand, and it's a really good hand, right? It's got a 2 and a 3 in it, and I'm confident that I have the lowest score out of all the cards here. This should be face down, by the way. I would call 4-card Charlie, which gives every player 2 turns left, but it also does something rather tricky. See, each player, including you, draws 4 more cards, and they're all played face up, so there's no mistaking what they are. And now, you only have 2 turns to get rid of as many cards as you can before the game ends, and you have to calculate your scores. So now everyone takes a turn, and then everyone would take another last turn, and then we would turn all of our cards face up and calculate how much we had left. Now this is actually a pretty decent hand for someone who just called 4-card Charlie. So let's say I had the lowest values out of everyone here, which I think I did. And if you win, that's all fine and dandy. But if you call 4-card Charlie and you lose, then you have to start the next round with an additional 1-card penalty. So let's say that Elmo over here, he called 4-card Charlie, but I had a lower value than him. This would mean that Elmo would start the next round with 5 cards instead of 4. and he would only be able to look at 2 of them still. And another way you can get penalties is if you want to do the little discard thing. So let's say I play a 6, and this guy's like, oh, wait, I know I have a 6 in here somewhere, and he plays a 4 on top of that. He takes the card back, and he also draws another card. So that's another way of that's another way to get a penalty in 4-card Charlie. Now, if you've understood everything so far, that's great, but 4-card Charlie, it's probably a little tricky, and you probably didn't get it on the first time through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate a game of 4-card Charlie right now with these 4 people. Right? So you just if you watch it get played, you might learn a little bit more on how 4-card Charlie is done. So just wait a second. We're gonna do a funny little smash cut. 3, 2, 1, boom!
All right, now we've all got our hands set up here, and what we're gonna do first is we're gonna each peek at 2 of our cards.
So for example here, I'm gonna look at the cards on my left, and I'm gonna look at them here, and I've got a 4 and a 6, and 2 unknown cards. So I've got 4 and a 6, remember that. And up here, I'm gonna peek at the 2 bottom cards, right? Let's see what they've got. An 8 and a 3. Okay, that's a little better. You can get rid of that 8 and you have a 3 left over. Now let's take a look at Leroy Jr.'s bottom 2 cards. He's got a 5 and a 2. Ooh, wow, that's the best one we've seen yet. And now since Elmo called 4-card Charlie and lost last time, he's got to deal with an extra card. So he's gonna look at the last 2. He's got an 8 and a 3. Huh, that's exactly what he had, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we know that these 2 have an 8 and a 3. He's got a 5 and a 2, and we've got a 4 and a 6. And since the person who called 4-card Charlie in the last turn goes last, that means I get to go first, which is great for me. So I've got a 4 and a 6, remember that. I've got a 5, which a 5 is a decent card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these 2 cards, which I don't know, and swap it out for that 5 and a 10. Woo! Glad I got rid of that 10. That 10's a pretty big one. So we've got 4, 6, and a 5, which I can just switch them around here so they're 4, 5, 6. A bit easier to remember now. Now going on to old Stoney's turn, he's got an 8 and a 3, right? So if we draw and get a 9, ooh, I think I'd rather just put that back down. You can do that, by the way. Now no one else has a 9, right? So going over to this Leroy Jr., he pulls, and he gets a 9. Ooh, didn't like that either. He puts it down. And then going over to Elmo, he's got an 8 and a 3 on that side. So he's got that doesn't make sense. What Elmo's going to do is he's going to swap it out for the middle card. Oh, he got an 8, which is good because he can play his 8, and then El Rocco can play his 8. So they're all down a card now, which is really good for them, but not so good for us because we want to win, remember? So let's just go back this way and take our second turn with our 4, our 5, and our 6. So far, not great. A queen. Now, this queen, it kind of sucks, but if we play it, we get to peek at this last card, and oh, it's an 8. We could have played that last 8. So we've got a 4, a 5, a 6, and an 8. Now, we know all our cards, but these guys don't know all their cards. So, by taking a look here, ooh, he's got a jack. Now, keeping that jack might be handy, because he can get that out really quick. Jacks can't be played on face cards, by the way. So he gets this out, and ooh, a 7. Wait, did anyone else have a 7? No. So he knows he's got a jack and a 3. You know, the jack he can get rid of. Wait a minute. A 7's an odd number, so he can play his jack on that 7. Is what I'd say. If you can't play the card you drew on the same turn. So he's going to have to wait for somebody else to play an odd card. And so Leroy Jr. here. Oh, he's got a 7, but he kind of wants to know what these 2 cards are. So he takes a 7 and he swaps it out. Oh, a 2. That's really sucks, but at least he can play this other 2. Now Elmo, he sees that 2 and he's like, oh man, I could really use that 2 right about now. So he draws the 2, and he goes to swap out one of his other cards. Oh no, his ace. But he played that ace, right? He played it in the discard pile, so he gets to take another turn. And when you play an ace, you can't draw it back. So he draws another card, a 4. Hey, that's not even half bad. So he's got a 2 and a 4, and he just got rid of his 9. You stay put, you bastard. Anyway, now it's my turn again. We know we have a 4, a 5, a 6, and an 8. A joker! This is really good news. We can finally pitch this last 8, and we know that no one's gonna play on it.
Now going up to this guy, we know he has a jack, which he forgot to play, and it's
3? Jack and a 3, if I remember correctly. Oh, he's got a golden jack this time. He's gonna keep that jack, because that jack can get rid of pretty quick. Ooh, he played a 4. Now we have a 4, so we can get rid of that. Lickety split. And didn't Elmo have a 4? Right, so he's gonna... Oh, he played a 2, so he has to take that back and draw another card. Ooh, the Black King.
oh, that's not good at all.
He doesn't know that. Remind us that he doesn't know what he just drew. Now it's Leroy Jr.'s turn, and we know he has a 5, and he draws. Ooh, a golden king. That's worth 0. That's really good. So he gets rid of this 7, see?
And does anyone else have 7s from what I recall? No. No.
So Elmo here, he's going to draw, and he's going through another ace. Why, that's just great. He plays an ace, and he gets rid of a 3. Now that 3, that could have been better. But doesn't he have another 3 somewhere? I do not believe he does.
But you know who has an odd-numbered card?
Rocco with his silver jack can play on that. Now we just got a queen. That's just straight buns. We know our cards.
That was a bit of a wasteful turn.
And now he's going to draw an even card. And he can play it now and play his gold jack on that. And he's going to call 4-card Charlie. Now he's called 4-card Charlie because his only card, he knows he's got a 3 there. And he thinks that's going to be tough to beat. So now everyone draws 4 cards in the open. So he got a 3, a 5, a jack, and a king, all silver. Leroy drew a queen, a 2, a 3, and a 5. That was pretty interesting. Elmo drew a 2, a 6, another 6, and an ace.
Ooh, that's a pretty decent hand.
And what did I get? I got a 7, a queen, another 7, and an ace.
Now that's pretty good if I dare say.
But now all of us
Have 2 more turns before we have to turn our cards face up and tally our scores. So now it's Leroy's turn, right?
and he is not looking too good. He knows he has 2 5s, which he can get rid of pretty easily, but that's a 10. A 10's really not good, but it's worth getting rid of that last card. So he swaps out, and he has the same score now, but now he's just gotten rid of a 10. And what are his other 2 cards? He has the Golden King and another 10. Ooh.
Okay, so now he only has 1 turn left to make it big.
So now Elmo, he has 2 6s, but he also has a king. So what he does is he draws a 10, right? And he plays it. But which is really good for Leroy Jr. because he now plays his 2 10s on top of that.
And now he's only got 4 cards left. Which, all right. Now I've got 2 7s,
A queen and an ace. And I also know I have 4 5 6. Another joker. That's really good. I'm going to swap that joker out for my 7, which I can play my 7s on top of that. But Rocco's going to play his blackjack on that, which wasn't ideal.
Okay, so I gotta get rid of these cards fast, right?
This guy, he's only got 4 cards left to his name, and this is his second to last turn. So he's got 2 3s, a 5, and a black king. Ooh, he just drew the certificate. Now, the certificate is the last thing you want. So he has to put that back. Like,
Wait, he did call 4-card Charlie, so that would be...
Yeah, no, he's going to take that certificate and play his last card, a 3. So now he has
13. His point value right now is 13 because the certificate's -5 if you're the person who called 4-card Charlie.
Now, Leroy Jr., he's moving up in the ranks. He's going to play his 3. He's going to draw a 9. That 9's not very useful to him.
So he's actually gonna swap it out for his queen. And take a look, he's got the Golden King, a 2, and a 9. So if someone plays a 9, he's set for life.
Ooh, a Golden King. He's swapping that out for his double 6s.
And now it's Leroy's done. Elmo's done. This is my final turn.
I'm playing my 6 back on that. I have 2 jokers, a 5, and a queen. And that's a jack. Now the jack, if I get lucky, he might be able to play an even card and I'd win. He won't. I know he won't. So I just low-key got to accept my fate and play in the jack.
Right? So now it's his turn, and he knows that he's got to get rid of that king if he wants a decent chance of scoring.
But now notice there's no cards left.
We've played them all, so I'm just going to have to shuffle the discard pile. So anything that's been played this whole game so far, he can draw. It's a good thing for him that I have all the jokers. So that's going to be a pretty deep... But the queen's going to basically just sop all that up like a sponge. So I'm basically screwed. Unless he draws a queen and plays it, then I might just have a chance.
So he draws, and he plays a jack. And now everyone's taking their last turns, so he plays. Actually, he's going to swap out his jack for the king, because this jack is worth less points.
So now he has a grand total of 11 points, because the jack is worth 11. So can anyone beat that? Let's check.
Leroy definitely...
Oh, Leroy tied. Leroy also got 11. Leroy Jr. Good on you, my man. So a tie automatically means that the person who called 4-card Charlie, he's lost because he hasn't won. So that means he's going to have to take another card for his penalty next game. Now, Elmo, I think you're just dead here, man. A king, a 6, a 4, another king. Wow, this is just an abysmal hand. Let's count him up. He's got 13, 19, 20, 26, 28, 29 is Elmo's total score. That, he definitely didn't win. But now let's see what I got. Let's see what I managed to get. I got 2 jokers, so that's -4, a 5, so that's 1, 2, 14. I didn't tie, but I came second to best. Now let's clean this up real quick. And that's it. That is officially how you play 4-card Charlie. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a nice day.